Welcome to the Lifestyle Medicine Update. I'm Dr. James Meschino. According to an important study published in the journal Breast Cancer Research and Treatment, researchers at the Medical University of South Carolina have shown that products formed in our bloodstream after ingesting high sugary foods and drinks stimulate the activity of estrogen receptors on breast cancer cells, making them more likely to divide, form tumors, and metastasize. So more specifically, researchers exposed human breast cancer cells that were classified as estrogen receptor positive breast cancer cells. That means they expressed estrogen receptors. They exposed these breast cancer cells to age proteins, only to discover that the age proteins stimulated the estrogen receptors on these breast cancer cells, causing them to start dividing. But first, they exposed these breast cancer cells to the drug tamoxifen, which is commonly used to prevent the recurrence of estrogen receptor breast cancer. You see, tamoxifen binds to estrogen receptors in a way that inhibits breast cancer cells from dividing. Now, in this study, exposure to tamoxifen did in fact stop these human breast cancer cells from dividing, but this protective effect was lost when age proteins were added to the mix. In short, age proteins overshadowed the preventative effects of the drug tamoxifen and stimulated these breast cancer cells to begin dividing again, or to start dividing again. As the researchers point out, we've known for a long time that poor dietary and lifestyle practices are associated with cancer development, but we haven't yet discovered all the biological mechanisms through which they act. Now, extrapolating the results from this study suggests that by eating a diet high in simple sugars, which produces these age proteins, an individual produces these higher amounts of age proteins in the blood, which adversely affect estrogen receptor positive breast cancer risk. Now, AGE stands for advanced glycation end products, which simply means that high blood sugar levels simply sugarcoat proteins in the bloodstream, forming these what are called age proteins. Now, in this study, the presence of age proteins stimulated estrogen receptor positive breast cancer cells to replicate even in the presence of the cancer drug tamoxifen. The message appears to be that to help prevent estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, or the recurrence of estrogen receptor breast cancer in cancer survivors, women should be mindful of their blood sugar level and the consumption of simple sugars. Now, a human study showed that obese women who had a history of estrogen receptor breast cancer were able to lower the amount of age proteins in their blood via a targeted dietary and exercise program. The diet was low in simple sugars, bad fats, as well as foods that were seared, fried, or grilled. Each of these dietary practices are shown to be important in lowering the production of age proteins in the blood. But this information is not only important for women. You should know that high amounts of age proteins in the bloodstream are also linked to an increased risk of diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, macular degeneration, and kidney disease. And this is because age proteins generate a lot of free radicals that damage many different tissues. And thus it's important for a variety of reasons for all of us to keep our blood sugar in the ideal range, avoid bad fats and cooking processes that encourage the production of these dangerous age proteins. So I've included the scientific reference for this information in the text below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.